So now is the time to introduce our speakers today. Valérie Paquet. He has taught biology at Collège Montmorency from 2001 to 2007. She teaches this discipline at Cégep Abitibi-Témiscamingue since 2010. Valérie has a bachelor's in biology from UQAM, a master's in biology, Université de Montréal, and a specialized diploma, DESS, in pedagogy of post-secondary education from UQAM. Mireille Ménard, she has practiced psychology from 1993 to 2003. She was a teacher at Cégep de l'Abitibi-Témiscamingue until 2003. She is now a guidance counselor and Plan Réussite. She is REPCA, REPSTAT, and she also has a bachelor's in psychology from Ottawa University and a master's from Université Laval. She also followed a short program, upper education in therapeutic hypnosis from Université du Québec, Abitibi-Témiscamingue. So have a great webinar, everybody. So hello, everybody. We are very happy to be with you here today and to talk about our project of first semester pedagogy. So now we will share our screen. So as we said, Mireille Ménard is my name. I'm a guidance counselor. I was also at the time one of the teachers that were at the foundation of creating this learning community, pedagogical community, with my colleague Valérie today, who will introduce herself a bit later on and give some of the presentation, with Claude Lacasse also, who unfortunately is absent today. So we want to position ourselves from the outset that this project is born of the initiative of a collaboration called Caroline Rioux, who is an associate director, who has the control, who had this idea, this great idea to put together teachers to talk about pedagogy, first semester pedagogy, to also give themselves the tools and for them and their colleagues, with the idea of supporting the transition of new students who arrive into the first year, first semester, into a higher level of education. We talk about pedagogy, first semester pedagogy. It's the first year into a new system and pedagogical adaptation of these new students. Caroline also had the vision to say how this project could fit into the development of an institutional culture. So the idea was not just to launch a project, but also to try and contribute to the development of this culture, this culture of pedagogy of first semester students. So it's a project for teachers, by teachers, but with the support of a whole team, among them guidance counselors, who will support this project. My role as a guidance counselor is to coordinate the project. And because I coordinate the project, we will go to the outline and I will continue coordinating. So I wasn't doing this by myself. I don't do this myself. I also had an administrative assistant who was helping us to coordinate the organization of the project. So today, what we have for you, we said it at the outset, we will do a simulation. So we wanted to just do something different and not just do a presentation with some questions. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to present the project within a simulation of a workshop, as we could see often with our participants of the first semester students. So that's the first part of the presentation. Then we will do a question and answer period on the workshop. And then we will talk about our main objectives to contributing to a culture of first semester pedagogy, and then maybe have some more questions after our conclusion. So before running the simulation, what I will do is I will give you an overview of what the project really is. So there are three parts to our project. The first part, I talked about this earlier, is the workshops that we've hosted as a learning community. Valérie will explain how we would run these workshops. And then our objective is, yes, we want to talk about pedagogy in a first semester context, but concretely on the ground, on the front lines, we wanted teachers to be able to make some changes and see effects in the classroom. So the participants in parallel would work on a personal project, personal adaptation project, to modify certain activities pedagogically in the classroom. So to be able to do this project, well, they had the help of a guidance counselor that works at supporting pedagogy and learning. So we want to support this culture, and this culture, we want this culture to emanate from our workshop. So we asked our participants to create a communication product. Sorry. So they had to create a product for communication, a product that is short and sweet, that is punchy, that gets straight to the crux of things, that really wants to share this project within our community. So I'll give you some more concrete examples later on. Before we begin our simulation, I'm going to talk about the first step, which is a call for candidates. So what we were looking for were participants who would accept with signing a discharge to participate in our projects and produce communication products. We wanted to have people that came from different departments, different faculties. We wanted to touch on as many faculties as possible. Then we wanted to go into specific pedagogy and more specialized pedagogy. We are a Cégep, particularly, that has 3 campuses. We have one in Rouyn-Noranda, we have one in Val d'Or, and we have one in Amos. So we had this preoccupation that the candidates that were chosen could represent this diversity. So people would write a letter in which they would explain what they wanted to work on. And as Caroline, who was managing this, following the analysis of these letters, would decide who could participate. So the participation is 1 semester, and this call for candidates should happen before setting up these workshops, obviously. So the first step is to go through this simulation of a workshop, and I will now hand it over to my colleague Valérie. Hello, Mireille. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I'm very happy to be here with you today for presiding over a simulation, hosting a simulation of a workshop that we had in developing this project. My name is Valérie Paquet. I am a biology teacher at the Val d'Or campus, and I will ask the candidates, the people who were selected for this semester to participate in our project, to introduce themselves, give us their names, the campus and the faculty they work in, as well as the project as Mireille explained it. So each teacher works on a pedagogical project. So very quickly, ask to explain the project they wish to work on. So I will now hand it over to Laurier. Hello, everybody. My name is Laurier de los Barba. I teach at the Rouyn-Noranda campus. I teach mathematics, and my project is giving the student the tools as a learner, particularly technical program students. Thank you, Laurier. Sandra? Hello, everybody. My name is Sandra Bizier. I am a teacher in pre-hospital emergency care at Val d'Or Cégep. My project was built as to develop the communication with students, among students, to take this project outside of a college framework. Thank you, Sandra. Marie-Ève Charbonneau. Hello, everybody. Marie-Ève Charbonneau is my name, and I teach at the Faculty of Psychology at the Rouyn-Noranda campus. And my project is in the universe of research into literature in the DEC context. Another Marie-Ève. So Marie-Ève Dion, I teach nursing sciences at the Val d'Or campus, and my project was to give the presentation of a cursus of a friend who is interested in teaching, but also for the students. So thank you to the four of you. So together we have this new team now, this cohort in our learning community and pedagogical community for first semester students. So for the workshop today, I will first explain how we will proceed. So we will have 10 meetings during this semester, meetings that we will have on Teams because we are all on different campuses. So I prepared a calendar of our semester. So the 10 workshops, you can see them here that will explore different subjects, the pedagogical relationship, motivation and engagement, diversity of students. So we have different themes that we will cover. And as you know, you will work on a project that you will develop this pedagogical project that you just mentioned. So to help you advance this project, you will have during the semester 4 weeks where there will be no workshop. So the weeks where there are workshops, you have a 2-hour workshop, and the other 2 hours for which you are free, you can work on your project. But during the semester, we will have 4 weeks where there will be no workshops, and that will allow you to advance this project and to have individual meetings with the guidance counselors who will come as a support role to help you in developing your project. You have received a kit. So the information kit that you have received brings together many concepts and a network of concepts. So in the framework of this workshop, to give a bit of a framework for our discussions, we talked about pedagogy in the first semester, and we decided to do reading overviews or reading outlines on the pedagogical relationship you see here on the screen. So we can use these as a theoretical guide, as a theoretical framework that will cover many subjects related to these themes. So during the semester during which we will have our workshops, we will have a surprise guest, a person that does research into pedagogy, pedagogical research, and come and join us for a workshop to discuss, to cover one of these themes. So for your information, up to now, we have received 6 people so that had the time and were generous enough to join us for a workshop. So I'm going to just name them here. Séverine Parra, who came and talked about engagement. Isabelle Cabot, who talked about motivation. We talked about pedagogical relationships with Martine Saint-Germain. Steve Masson for in-depth learning, Eric Richard, who came and talked about diversity in the student body, and Alisha Wisanji, who came and talked about academic resiliency. So we will have a surprise this semester as well, a special guest also. So our workshop today, now that we've well understood how everything works, we will launch into discussions related to first semester pedagogy with a first ice-breaking activity. So that will allow us to get to know each other and to start whiteboarding and thinking about pedagogy in the first semester context. So I'm going to ask you to think about how you were when you got to Cégep. What kind of student were you? And what factors made a difference for you in your first semester when you first started college, Cégep? So what made you persevere past the first semester? So I can begin. So very quickly, in 2 words, I was a very motivated student. I loved school, but in Cégep, not at all engaged. So that the result was that I failed my first math class. My reaction was, is that even possible? I never failed a class before. I had always excelled at school, so I hit the wall when I got to Cégep. And so I was a bit discouraged, and not to the point of wanting to abandon my studies, but was one of the factors nonetheless that helped me to persevere was that I really had a clear objective. I had a goal. And I also had, and it's an important factor because I remember my chemistry teacher came and saw me and she heard me talk about how I was panicking because I failed math. She said, Valerie, you have the potential to succeed. I see that. You just have to work a bit better and a bit smarter. A bit harder and a bit smarter. So he put me on the right track and he supported me and made me feel that I had a teacher that was behind me and believed in me that really helped me to progress. So that's really my experience as a first semester student. So I would like to now hand it over to you so that you can talk about what kind of student you were and what factors made a difference for you in your first semester. So I will hand it over to Sandra. Yes, so when I registered at Cégep initially, I was in management and accounting. I saw very quickly that it's not an area that I was really interested in. I continued to finish my basic classes, my mandatory courses, but I was an average student. I wasn't introverted or extroverted either way. But what really made a difference for me is when I registered into emergency care into the paramedic program. So very quickly, the subject matter, the teachers, the students made a big difference for me. After the experience I had with my colleagues and my teachers, for me, was a very positive factor, a key factor that helped me continue my studies in emergency care and as a paramedic technician. So with this technical program that I was following. Sandra, thank you. I will now hand it over to Marie-Ève Charbonneau. Yes, I would describe it as me being a student that was pretty introverted, but when I got comfortable with my environment, I could be a bit of a troublemaker if I had some friends around. Except that my first semester, I left Rouyn-Noranda. I had done my high school at Rouyn-Noranda, and I went to a private college in Montreal. So I was really changing worlds. I didn't know anybody. It was completely new. I was a bit naive, a bit uh, I really loved school and I was a bit naive. I got into an integrated DEC program. I had no specific goals. I just wanted to discover. I loved science, humanities, arts. So this program fit perfectly into what I wanted to, but I didn't have a specific objective. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know anybody. I was just floating around. So an integrated deck, really, there was one group or two only. We were always the same group together. I was living on campus, so I really made a quick circle of friends and we really helped each other, supported each other throughout. And I think the main factor that made my experience a good one was the feeling of belonging between us as a group in the dorms and in the classroom, and we really supported each other and we were all on the same page and together. So the teachers also were really in proximity with us because there were not many of us in this program. So we were very well supported and it came and we developed a family kind of environment and it motivated me to continue into university. Oh, okay, great. I understand. Thank you, Marie-Ève. So for the interests of time, we understand that we only have 1 hour today, but I will now take a third comment and then we will allow everybody to speak. Marie-Ève Dion, quickly, what kind of student were you and what factors made a difference for you? So I, as a very studious person, I wanted to be a podiatrist. And after having done science in college, no, I don't want to do this in Cégep. So I went into a technical program in nursing sciences. And really, one of the factors was I was living at my parents' house and I had my close friends, my parents. It was a great support network for me, very important. So that's the factor for me, the social and family factors that really helped support me, my support network. Studying to be a nurse is very difficult, and at the Val d'Or campus, we're really close with the teachers. It's a very tight-knit environment. So all that made it so that I was able to do well and continued my path. Oh, I understand. Thank you. Um, so what we are talking about here, how we were as students, the needs we had, and the protective factors that helped us to persevere in our studies. They're not so different of those of our students today. This is a series of needs and protective factors that we pulled from the literature. The need to be secure, to be informed, to have the tools, to be supported, to find meaning, and to be stimulated. Social skills is a social network. Positive relationships, autonomous development of autonomy, support structures, high expectations towards the student to really bring the student into the optimal learning zone, to have the feeling of building a future, of building something on our own with support, and having the capacity to resolve problems. There's more, but these are the main factors of protection, the protective factors that made it so that it changed our view of college and how we coped with continuing our path in the Cégep. So now that we are teachers, do we have these protective factors in place? Because we have this possibility when we think about planning our classes, there's all kinds of ways of planning. And do we have these protective factors in place intuitive? Probably. But uh, in our planning, do you consider protective factors and you say, I'm going to do this in a certain way because I want to have these protective factors in place to help these students? So, Laurier, I will hand it over to you. Um, Consciously, when you plan your classes intentionally, do you build in protective factors into your pedagogy? Well, I teach in a pre-university program, a technical preparation for a technical program, but particularly in technical college programs. I think developing autonomy very early in the student and paying attention to that in the beginning is very important. How we organize our work also. And the first example that comes to mind that I do for all my classes is to give a first exam very quickly. I think the third or fourth week, that will include all the notions we've covered since the beginning. And we will have given them exercises to revise the content and get them ready for this exam, and to revise the content of the class and what I expect from the students. And then with the results of this exam, I will go and meet up with the students personally, one-on-one. Those who got less than 70%, I will meet them personally. It takes some time in the beginning of the semester to do that, but it's well invested, I think, very well invested, because it's very effective. We met them one-on-one. They feel like we are personally invested in their success, and we explain why did you get 50, what happened, and well, how do you see things? And then with the student, we will put together elements of support that will help remedy the situation, correct the course, and to build a relationship between the class and the student, and the expectations also towards the class. Maybe the student didn't expect it to be that difficult. Maybe he didn't think that he had to do as much work to prepare. Maybe planning some follow-up meetings with these young people who have some difficulty, and independently of what we have to do we have to act early in the semester rather than downstream? So, or it's more difficult downstream because the evaluations are more weighted and it's more critical later on. So, okay. So, Sandra, um, on your end, when you plan your classes in nursing sciences, do you think about protective factors, protective elements? How do you put them in place? Can you? bring back the slide. Yes. Okay. So for me initially, of course I will try to have a relationship, a proximal relationship, as I said, because it was a deciding factor for me. So it's very important that my students feel from the outset that I'm really there for them, that at any time they can send me a message, we can talk, if I have time for them to help them with their issues and problems. So I would say that the relationship that I will develop is very important for me. I also like to make sure to reflect how I was in Cégep. So often I think about, yes, I was a student, I was there, I was sitting in your seat, I know what it's like. So I really try to give them some security and to make them feel secure, because in nursing sciences we are sometimes we have people who are new to the healthcare industry, the healthcare to the health sciences. It was my case as well. So I trying to give the students a sense of security. So I will really insist on the fact that I'm there for them, that I'm there to support them. And every time I do activities, pedagogical activities with my students, I will always go and validate and make sure they understand. And with, for example, a interactive PowerPoint, a short quiz, questionnaires, we try to vary the way we do things to get to the maximum interest and engagement from the students that are all very different. So you said, and I would like to carry on with what you said, is often we think about the fact that we want to put in place or teach as to what kind of student we were and our experience and what worked for us and what was positive for us as students. But we're all different. All these students are different. Each one is unique. So to uh, really care about them individually and intuitively, I would have these factors of protection for these students and these ones for other students. But I shouldn't forget that my students are very different, and maybe there are other protective factors that I should think about. I know Marie-Ève Charbonneau, we'll talk about your project later on. So I would go around the table with Marie-Ève Dion next. So Marie-Ève, the protective factors that spontaneously or consciously you put in place in your pedagogical practice. Well, there are a few factors. We are try in nursing sciences to quickly have an onboarding activity to integrate our students very quickly. Yes, in my class, but also that there are students, second and third year students that also have been where they are, that they can refer to, that they can help so that they can get help from. So I organize activities mixers for my students, for the first year students, to help integrate and onboard them. There are different activities for all the students to meet up, and there's all kinds of games that we do as team building activities to create a social network. So this network of support that we're trying to create very quickly. And in the classroom, I really like to use exercises or games where I try to pull from their experience on the ground, and so to use simulations and what they're going to have to do in their work post education. So it really gives a sense to everything and contextualize everything and makes everything more concrete for them. So of course we're talking about first semester students, so intentional relationships, I really feel like they're mothers sometimes, but is to help to develop autonomy. We're trying to make them autonomous as much as possible and self-actualized, and I try to give them different tools. And in my classroom, I have a psychosocial service. I really present all the different resources they can use. Yes, I paying attention to their needs, but eventually we're trying to make them autonomous, self-sufficient, and we're still here to help them. So yes, well, the challenge is to develop autonomy, self-actualization. We can't expect them to have that on their own. So it's a great idea to have representatives of the different support services. If they come to the classroom, we bring the services to them. It allows us to give them all the information and the understanding of what what resources they could use if they need to do so. So, Marie-Ève, go ahead. We have a few minutes still. Charbonneau, do you want to share the protective factors that you build in to your class? Yes. Earlier, I said that I changed faculties, changed Cégeps, changed cities in Montreal. So I went to Montreal. So as a teacher today, I really care about giving my students a sense of security and giving a sense of meaning to what we're doing. I didn't have a specific project. I loved school. I didn't have a specific idea of what I wanted to study, but I was engaged and I loved education. So I could see, even if I couldn't see long term what I wanted exactly, I love to learn. So I think I care about education. I came into my deck and try to situate them and to remind them of the difference. We're not in high school. We're at a higher level here. Things go faster. So to refer them to the cursus, to make everything very concrete, to say this is where we are right now and this is where we're going. So I give them updates regularly to connect that to what we're covering in the classroom. We've done this, we're going to cover this next. And so often to draw relationships with what they do in the job market and the labor market after their education. I talk about methodology, time management, and so I think it's necessary in education in Cégep, but also as a working adult. So I will always remind them of that. Of course, I was a guidance counselor as well. So I'm very well versed in all of this, but I think to give them a sense of security and give them a sense of meaning, I think that's probably, yes. I think in the beginning it was unconsciously that I was doing that, but now I see that it can really make a difference. Yes. Thank you for that. I think, Mireille, that there are some questions that were asked in the Q&A tab. So we can finish our simulation and allow Nicole to share the questions. Yes, Caroline Payat, who is asking, are did you really use a specific program for your workshops, or was it very general? How did you organize? How did you choose? We didn't choose a faculty specifically. We're looking for 4 or 5 participants per semester. So that's why we couldn't cover any specific departments or faculties, but we had philosophy students, we had English, FIDEC, so people from general education and literature teachers also. So it was really diversified. Um, and participation of different teachers. But what we said is that this is a project that a 3-year run. So we knew that we had 3 years to select the most faculties possible, the most programs possible. I don't know if it answers your question. I can ask Caroline if she has more questions. Of course, she can ask more questions. Thank you. There is Dominique Trudel. I'm not sure of having well understood what is the deliberations that these teachers had amongst themselves. How could they get a discharge or liberation? It's a liberation of 4 DCE for each teacher. So a time off of liberation on 1 semester, a 4 DCI. Décharge individuelle, DCI, for DCI, DCI in French. Thank you. So the projects, are they attached to what I see here says yes, but Eduk was asking, are the projects attached specifically to pedagogical studies or a faculty? So as a teacher, what we did is we had a place where we had a lot of our literature and resources that we found, and we found texts that were easy to read and quick to digest. And with the support of the guidance counselor and educational support, we could accompany we can have accompaniment to validate the project as much as possible. If the question is, we did a study and we studied specifically with factors of success and modifications we would do, and then measure before and after with a study. We didn't do that in this project. There's Dominique Trudel also that added, and I'm very much in agreement with her, that you had some great guests. the institutional budget, were these guests specifically invited to the community, or you had only within the community, or from outside? I'm going to try and answer all the questions. For the budget, it was the liberation for the for the webinar speakers. I talked about guidance counselors also and educational support, but there's also a guidance counselor in IT and communication technology for the communication project that helped us. We had a budget also that we wanted to use for our guests, but all transparency, each of them came and refused to be paid, because what we told them is, do you want to come about talk about something that you're passionate about with people who are passionate? You don't have to do anything. We prepared all the questions and the discussion, and it's just a discussion between all of us. So in their roles as a teacher in university or at the college level, they came. They were very interested in participating and very gracious with their time, and they refused payment. So it was, for us, it was the guidance counselors who could come and join, but it was really great for the participants. And then we had some communication to say, we received this and that person. They talked about this and that subject, and these are the links to get information, the resources to get information related to these guests. So this is maybe an appetizer to what's coming, but from what I see and what I've seen from the beginning of the presentation, did all of you have a project? I'd like to do this or that. How did that eventuate? What are the realizations? How did things carry on after that? Well, yes, effectively. Well, what I was going to say is, this question is with the workshop, the rest of the workshop, that'll answer the question. So I'm going to share the slide deck again. Yes, I don't know if Nicole, you wanted us to cover other questions, but maybe in continuing our presentation, we can give examples of there are no more questions. So, okay, we will continue our presentation, and that will answer that question particularly. So I just wanted to be sure that my screen share is working. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Great. So if I liberation of core DCI to participate in these workshops, which is a community learning community where people will share. So what's interesting is we were not in a model where we will train you. We give you the tools. We will create opportunities for us to think about pedagogy together and make changes. We had a pedagogical project personally to each participant, accompanied by a guidance counselor for educational support, and a communication project, because we want to feed into the culture that has been built, that is being built in accompaniment with a guidance counselor. So I know you're curious, so we'll give you an example of a pedagogical project. So I will invite Marie-Ève Charbonneau to present her project. So a short overview, and you can complete what I've said if I forget anything. My pedagogical project, when I registered in this project, I had in mind the students in the DEC program. I teach in other programs. I just don't have the Tremplin DEC program. So my Tremplin DEC, the DEC springboard, if you will, these are first semester students at the fall who the winter semester as well. So in this class, the big part of it is the document literary research, literature research. So the literature review to see how we do an assignment in Cégep, the methodology. So it's not a subject that I've found easy to present, because at first glance, the students were not very motivated when they saw the subject in the cursus. And it was a big part of the semester. I think we spend a month on literature research and review. And so I talk about that. I talk about course planning and the number of presentations and all of that. I don't find it very sexy. versus the stress, the motivation. So I needed to think about how to present this so as to make it interesting and the students feel engaged, because I thought that my students were not very much engaged, very passive, sometimes very stressed when I talked about the long text that they had to produce. And they didn't feel that they had the tools because they come from high school, and they would verbalize very clearly that it was the first time they were asked to do such a big project, and it's also the final project of the class. The 40% weight made them a bit scared, apprehensive. So the idea is to stimulate them and to help them get over their fear. When I talk about literature research, I wanted to give them the tools and different in a different way than just putting some documents on Omnivox or sharing them with teams. I wanted the documents, the material to be interesting and useful and easy to use. So I also, in the protective factors, I wanted to give them as much meaning as possible, as much meaning to the research as possible. So, in showing them that, yes, in Cégep, we have this or that style of working, this process that we follow, but it's not just because we're in Cégep. In real life, and I said this earlier, I really want to give them a sense of meaning. And so in the real world, documentary research takes a lot of different forms. So I wanted to show them that. So in my project, how to articulate all of that, I said to Mireille and Valérie, I wanted to have short intentional actions, not just one big thing. I wanted many different small actions. And so the idea was to have a full-fledged project, but also to say one project, but also you can integrate this into, and I wanted it to be a living project. And so just because I have four, they see liberation at one time so that I looked like I did a great project and that I cannot use it again. I want it to be a living project. So I had short intentional actions. So I'll give you some examples so that my students don't feel alone in this project. I decided to do some of it as a team. So in the Springboard deck, Tremplin deck, they don't have the sense of belonging that you can find in other programs. So I put them together as teams, and sometimes I had some negative reactions. Some people didn't work well together, but I explained why and what the benefits were. And I saw in time that it's really a winning formula, that the students develop a more of a sense of belonging, and they ask questions. And I even observed that the students sit together. So whereas at the beginning of the semester, they are often sitting alone. So it was easier for me to talk about that because currently I'm experiencing it. I've seen already changes in the sense of belonging, the esprit de corps, if you will. So that's one of the actions. And of course, the literary production was individual. The writing was individual. Also, I used a technical room. We have a room in our Cégep that's a technical room that is used, the educational technology room. It's a room with screens, with white screens, with computers, and it's very well equipped. A lot of technical equipment in there. They're always impressed, the students, when they go there the first time. So it motivates them. It allows them to work efficiently as a team and to have a time and space for specific actions and to do things, and instead of passively listening to me. So I also added into this project a feedback mechanism. I wanted to vary the feedback I received. I didn't want only written feedback and or only individual feedback. I did different types of feedback mechanisms, and I tested the feedback uh, uh, using video. I didn't want it to be too heavy or onerous. I would only do one take, one short video, 5 minutes max. The students really loved that kind of feedback. I had some great comments. Some of them listened to my video. Some of them said I almost cried and looking at your video. I could not uh, let go, put aside these great ideas that for my research. So it stimulated them to improve their research and to have further engagement. So the video feedback sometimes is a bit onerous or difficult, but I kept it because specifically for my Springboard deck students, my Tremplin deck students. So these are the main actions for my pedagogical project. Thank you, Marie-Ève. That's a great example of how it can apply, how we can see impacts quickly from these interventions. So Marie-Ève's project with the other projects are, you can see an example here on our blog of first semester pedagogy. We inform people that we have things on our blog and we invite people to go and have a look. And we want to make things interesting. Sometimes we have a comic strip, we have videos. We're trying to make it fun and interesting, and there's some animation sometimes. And so we're trying to respect the personality of each teacher. Each teacher chooses their means, their product of communication, but we wanted it to be communicated to everybody. So there are other ways that we use to communicate, but we will cover that later. So what I want to talk about is that watching the time go by, what we want to develop is a culture of pedagogy for the first semester. So developing a culture is not something we do in one day. It's a challenge that is quite ambitious, quite large. So we knew that it would take time. We knew that it would take some consultation, some consultation between the stakeholders that are very motivated. So we are presenting now the different steps and what we see for the future, because we see this as a process, as a living process. We don't want to say we worked on this for 3 years, it's done, everybody is finished. No, this is a process that must continue long term. So it started in 2017 when there was an institutional decision to invest. You need somebody to say, we want to give priority to pedagogy in the first semester because we think that it's important, that it's supportive for the students and supporting the obtention of diploma and the success of students. So in the winter 2018, following this decision, the autumn and the fall of 2018 and fall, so to develop this culture, the first committee for first semester pedagogy was formed, and the mandate that we gave to this committee, formed of many teachers, is to develop pedagogical tools so to support the teachers. So following that, this committee, we've developed the blog, we've developed capsules, we've done lists of documentation and resources and videos on the blog, but we also put together workshops. We offered them to different faculties, different programs. And in January, we have what we call the PED Days, which is a mini conference that we organize every year in our college, in our Cégep. We had a workshop on the needs of securing our students, giving them a sense of security when they first arrive into Cégep, their first semester. And it's the fall 2019 that, in the framework of a strategic project, a 3-year project, that we have created and implemented the learning community that we are talking about today, that involved the call to candidates and the participants that came for a semester to be part of this community, to participate in the 10 workshops and develop their own personal pedagogical project. So it's the winter 2024 that we had for the last time these workshops with participants. And then following that, as Mireille said, it's not over yet. So we're thinking currently about how, of course, we can continue to feed our blog and to highlight the projects that were completed. So they're on the blog, but sometimes we forget to consult them, and it's in hearing about them, we say, oh, okay, this teacher did that thing. Oh, okay, maybe I could do that as well. So to continue to shine a light on these projects and to think about new activities as well, pedagogical, social activities, and to have some social team building stuff with pedagogical activities as well. So yes, we are very happy with all of this. So what I want to say is the implementation of our learning community allowed us, pedagogical community allowed us to have 6 semesters, 15 faculties. It allowed 23 pedagogical projects to be created and tested with our students, but also it brought on something else. Valérie, yes, at the outset, the objective was really with this project to contribute to developing a pedagogical culture in the first semester. following each semester, we asked the participants to complete an overview, a review of the project and if it met their expectations and what they've gained from it. And we saw the impacts on the teachers were very positive. Our colleagues have shared the fact that they were talking about pedagogical issues and to have a time every week to talk about pedagogy with others was a really positive thing. So, and the fact that throughout this community, they are teachers from different faculties. And so you understand that at Cégep, we are three campuses. So we had plenty of teachers in this community that didn't know each other. So to talk pedagogy with colleagues that you get to know and build a network that don't belong to our program or faculty, that really builds a safe space with a multitude of voices, and that allowed us to freely share best practices, problems, victories, strategies. So it allowed them to really enrich and have an enriching experience for all of us. I participated as a co-host, but obviously I participated as a teacher as well. I would put my teacher cap on. So it was a very enriching activity experience. So some teachers said that there was the best time of the week for them, and some of them talked about the social aspect of it that was very important. And so it's interesting to see that sometimes some of them said that it gave them the courage to experiment, to try things, and to hear opinions from others and share their victories. And maybe I can try this or that and change different things myself as well, and hearing what others have done. So that really fed into their motivation, fed into their engagement with education and their passion for teaching and pedagogy. So yes, it's great to talk about all of this. It's useful, it's motivational, and it's great for the students. But we realize that the needs for the students apply to the teachers as well. And these needs of with building this project helped us to work on two levels, supporting our students, but also supporting our teachers with motivation and engagement. So we're very happy with this experience. And I think I speak for all of us. We thought it was a great privilege to be able to host and participate in these great workshops, this great adventure. So in closing, we want to thank our organizations who believed in this, who invested resources, and that allowed all of these people to coordinate, to work together. We want to thank all the involved parties, all these stakeholders and participants who participated in the process. And we also want to thank all of you for your time and interest today. And if you have any questions, you have our names. You know that we're at the Cégep Abitibi-Témiscamingue. And yes, we have some questions. Yes, we have some questions. So we wanted to say that you're welcome to ask your questions. We will be glad to answer. Nicole, yes, a wonderful project. And Dominique Trudel asked two questions. Your blog, PPS, is it public? Excellent question. Unfortunately, no. The reason is that we refer to theoretical models, and it comes from a model that was published by Carrefour de la Réussite. And when we asked if we can use this, it was important that for intellectual property that we could use this in a closed circle, but not publicly. So unfortunately, our blog, due to intellectual property reasons, it's not public. Dominique, unfortunately, it's not, but so Dominique says also the Carrefour de la Réussite, Fédération des Cégeps, is actually doing a census of practices, high impact practices evaluated with the specific criteria. Is your community, can they help to evaluate these practices in your Cégep? That's very interesting. I know exactly what you're talking about. So we did some surveys internally with our participants. So we have a bit of data. So I would put this into promising practices. I'm not convinced that we can say that it was a process that would have a validated practice with a protocol. There's more formal. Of course, it can be useful, and there's a promising aspect to it. Of course, that's good, but we hadn't thought about putting it into validated practices because we thought that our process was maybe not 100% in line with the criteria associated with this. Anouk Laporte, who also has a question that says that in the Masters in Pedagogy and Innovation, she had experimented the co-development with the internships, and the impact you talked about are similar of the community of practice, and she thanks you for your great presentation. Oh, thank you. Thank you. What a great way to close this workshop, this webinar. It was very enriching and interesting, and I really enjoyed hearing all of your colleagues today. I only have positive things to say, and I congratulate you. So people are ready and want to fill out the survey. If you want to do that, we would ask you please to do so. We're going to put the link into the chat for the survey. And I wish everybody a wonderful day. See you soon. There are no more questions. So thank you, everybody. It was really enriching and inspiring. And we will see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.